Hello, Sarah. Lovely to see you. I'm sure there's a lot of excitement in the build-up to this weekend. Just first of all, in the camp that England are currently in, when it was the Men's Six Nations, they spoke a lot about having to socialise outside and sort of like I think they had chess and there was a lot of video gaming going on. So, can you talk us through how the England women are actually socialising at the moment and what's been laid on for you?
Yeah, so we've only actually been in sort of one day yesterday, so we were straight into the thick of weights and skills. So there wasn't much time for socialising yesterday. But we're up in Doncaster and have a great big outdoor space. We've got a coffee machine that's brand new, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of baristas by the end of the Six Nations. So. We haven't got into too much socialising just yet, but I'm sure a bit like the men, there'll be some very imaginative ways of how we keep ourselves entertained in a socially distanced, COVID-friendly way over the next few weeks.
Sarah, the number 10 jersey for England, obviously there's been a big hole there with Katie's retirement. It appears from the outside to be a shootout between Zoe and Helena. Could you maybe answer questions about them in two ways? One, can you describe how different they are in the way they play the game? And then could you also maybe touch on how different they are in terms of personalities, what the two girls are like?
Yeah, so I think obviously first proper Six Nations without Katie is going to be different. She's obviously very much experienced and filled that 10 shirt for over a decade. But like you say, we've got some young contenders who have been mentored by Katie along the way. And I'd throw Meg Jones in there as well. She's been playing 10 for Wasps this season and been doing very well in camp. Zoe Harrison probably a bit more of a distributor, probably controls the game from that side of things, but through kicking and playing in the right areas. Helena, probably the nature of spending some time in the sevens, really attacks that line, the gain line, and will take things on herself, often uses footwork to beat defenders and get round and plays really close to the line, and again puts people in space, but you see her making probably a lot more breaks herself. Has a great boot on her as well to play us into the right areas. And Meg Jones is a bit of a maverick. Probably don't know what she's going to do at times in terms of just seeing the picture in front of her and playing what's there, and being really instinctive. So you've probably got three slightly different 10s, which I think is pretty exciting for us as a team. And depending on how we want to play, opposition we're going to play, I think we've got different 10s that can come and do this and mix it up. Also in a game, if we need to change the game for whatever reason, play a slightly different way, you've got different personnel that can do it, but all young, all itching at the bit, and all, more importantly, have been playing extremely well for their Premier 15s teams over the season. So I'm sure it's going to be a bit of a selection headache for Simon in terms of who he wants to put in that 10 shirt.
And just, can you touch on their different personalities?
Oh, sorry, yeah. I mean, three probably very, very distinct personalities. You've got Meg Jones, who is like out and out, quite vocal, sort of the Joker. Like, I guess you might have seen a lot on social media about the things that she does, puts videos together, that sort of thing. Very much extrovert type of person. And then you've got Helena, who's very quiet, like probably more like engaged one-on-one with people in terms of those conversations, probably more a bit of an introverted type of person. And then you've got Zoe, who you've probably got a bit of a balance between the two somewhere. She probably sits in the middle. So you've got you've got three probably very different personalities in who they are as well. But again, that's what you need in a team. You don't want three clones, do you?
What do you expect from Scotland in your first game?
You know what? I'm expecting a very difficult, tough game. You know, I think that for them, like, and you heard Rachel in the Q&A at the beginning, in terms of like, they don't want that to be a one-off. They've obviously got a really good coaching structure in place, and you can see the benefits that's having with the team, and obviously playing quite closely to some of the Scotland players at Loughborough. You know how good quality of players they are and how competitive they are as well, and I think they've obviously had a lot of time in camp over the last few months to the build up what they thought was going to be their European World Cup qualifiers, but actually it's probably led nicely into the preparations they've had for Six Nations. So I'm sure it's probably more time than they've ever had before in prep for a Six Nations. So I think, you know, it will be a competitive game, and I think you underestimate them at their peril, and we saw that from their last competitive fixture that they had against France.
Just on that, I mean, is there a need for you as captain to reiterate that to your players? You know,
absolutely. But yeah, do you know what? I don't think we have to reiterate it. I think it's spoken of. Again, a lot of the other girls play with some of the Scottish players at their clubs, and know like how good a quality player they are, and everyone knows the result that happened in the autumn. So I think we will keep reiterating it, but it comes from within, and players like emphasize that as we prepare for things. We're doing our analysis, you know, we're highlighting the areas that will challenge us. So yeah, it's certainly a key message of this preparation as we go into Saturday.
I kind of just wanted to ask, kind of with the expectation that comes with the Six Nations, and you and France are probably up there with the favourites, how do you kind of deal with that pressure from the outside?
Do you know what? I think the biggest pressure probably comes from within ourselves, and the standards and expectations we set of one another, and not just from a results point of view, but from a performance perspective as well. You know, we want to play well. We want to be putting into practice what we're training and how we train, and that's really a key focus for us. You know, the girls, I mean, I can only say for the last couple of weeks, since I've been back in camp, you know, all the way since the autumn through January, in the build up to it, that the girls have been training immensely hard and been really working on a way of playing, and I know that's a real focus for us in terms of going into the Six Nations. So like, whilst everyone like goes, right, it's going to be an England-France final, like we can't pay attention to that. We've just got to focus on getting the performance right, and then hopefully that will impact the result, and that will make us top our group and get to the final. And that's our goal, and that's the standard we set of one another, and we don't really look too much to what externally is happening, especially when you become in a bubble. You kind of forget the outside world and what's going on there and what people are saying and stuff.
I just wanted to ask, you know, in light of the great broadcasting positives that are coming out of this year's championship, are you hoping that like this year's tournament can almost be like a catalyst almost to put the whole women's Six Nations on free to air, perhaps in future years to come?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the nature that, I mean, all our games will be on BBC iPlayer, if not the BBC Two, if we get to the final. And I think we saw from the autumn, you know, when we had that autumn fixture against France, and they were both on the BBC, just how much visibility it got and how much people saw it. And I think for the women's game, that free to air TV it is probably the right way to go, because it just means that we can reach a different audience, and we can, like you say, expand who we are and what the tournament's about, and get more people to see. That will generate more income, interest, and hopefully more interest in sponsorship, etc., etc. So I think, and the nature of the fact that it's in a standalone window could be really beneficial to us, and it's really exciting to see how that lies with viewing figures and the interest generated when we're not alongside the men. So yeah, some really exciting things by going free to air and having it in a standalone window to see, just like you say, is it going to be a catalyst to bigger and better things for the Women's Six Nations.
Sarah, can you talk about can you talk about the influence of Amy Turner in the coaching team, with players like Maud Muir breaking into the squad, Simon Middleton saying last week how impressed he's been with her, and it was Amy's influence from the under-20s that's giving these youngsters a chance?
Yeah, I mean, Amy's been brilliant. Obviously, I've played with her, knew the impact she'd probably have, and I think it's obviously, having been there, done it, literally got the t-shirt. I think it's the little conversations, the little bits of detail she picks up. Obviously, the relationship she's had with the under-20s to identify those that were ready to come in and to make an impact, and then support them. And I think some of the detail that she gives us in and around training sessions, and some of the little conversations she picks up, like before or after training, about you personally or the team, and just picking up on sort of the little cultural bits as well, and how the feeling in camp is based on knowing that she's done it before, I think has been brilliant, and she's been such a great addition to have around. So yeah, I think that internship program has been a real plus, especially for us, and having someone like Amy come in and add real value to us, especially for the youngsters, who I think obviously also really look up to her and what she's achieved in her career, both from a player and a coach.